live. This is episode 6 of Enlighten the Youth. Welcome back, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Today, our special guest is
Kerstin Pelletier.
And we're going to dive a little bit into what she does with the Clarity Catalyst and just learn a little bit about Kerstin overall. So, we'll start off with a brief introduction. You could just go ahead and talk a little bit about what you do as well as the Clarity Catalyst.
Great, thank you, Roman.
Of course.
I started on this journey of life and health coaching probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago. It was when I was in the middle of crisis in my own life. I had hit rock bottom through a lot of events that have been occurring in my life.
Yeah.
I had recently gotten married. We were in the middle of the pandemic. I ended up having a lot of financial struggle because I wasn't able to work due to the pandemic, and then also because I ended up with a lot of health issues. I ended up struggling with a lot of body pain and extreme fatigue. I was passing out a lot. I was very weak. I had no energy. And they determined that I had fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome.
Wow.
So during that period of time, I also realized that my intuition was telling me a lot of things and that my body speaks to me through my health. And so I didn't connect that before in the past. But now I realize that my intuition is very strong, but it's very through my body. So once I realized that there was lots of things in my life that weren't right. So I made a lot of changes, including exiting a relationship, selling my home, deciding to let go of my massage business because that didn't no longer work for me, being that I was struggling with body pain so badly. Yeah. And
It's a lot of big moves at once.
Lots at once, yeah. Lots of things happening, and I chose to pay off all the debt with the money from my sale of my house and go live in the country in a little RV. So I moved out of the city. So a lot of change all at once.
Yeah.
And I attributed it to getting through that time. Oh, I should back up for a moment and just say that during that period of time, I was on a lot of medication for the fibromyalgia. And with that medication, unfortunately, there was side effect of suicidal ideation.
Oh, wow.
So I had very low moments where I was actually feeling like I didn't want to be here any longer. I didn't see a way out, to be honest. And then I chose to go to away out of Canada for a little bit, go to Mexico for a month. This was 2 years ago now. And as I was in Mexico, I was there and I was asking the universe for clarity. I said, please give me clarity on what I should do in regards to my relationship. And I had extreme clarity given to me. It was a beautiful gift. It wasn't the ugliest package you can imagine, but It was the clarity I needed to move forward. And while I was there, I had decided that when I would get there, that I would actually hire somebody, hopefully from the cartel, I was thinking. Of course, I didn't know, to end my life for me, because I thought that if somebody did it, then I wouldn't do it. That way it wouldn't hurt my family and friends so great. So I was at a very low point. Within 5 days of being there, it was amazing. I had left not hardly being able to walk. And I was at a point where physically I wasn't able to do much on my own. I got there. Within 5 days of being there, I was able to ride a bike. And I was able to go get my own groceries. I was able to care for myself completely. And I realized that my circumstances and my situation were a big part of my illness. Also, the biggest contributing factor of all was that when I was asking for this clarity, and the moment that I think the universe knew that I didn't want to be here to that level, something happened. I was sitting outside in the hammock on this beautiful sunny day in Mexico, and all of a sudden this like warm blanket dropped over me and all of my thoughts left me. And it was like, I can't even describe it.
Wow.
And when my thoughts left me at that moment, it was like some sort of peace came over me. And I realized in that moment, even though I'd been studying different spiritual leaders like Eckhart Tolle, that our thoughts create our suffering. Until that moment, I didn't really realize how greatly my own thoughts were creating so much suffering for myself.
Wow.
So going through that journey, I decided that I would want to teach other people how to be more present in the moment so that they could also end their own suffering. And I wanted to heal my own body from fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. So I proceeded to do so by taking the time I needed to really practice self-care and self-love on a deep level, on working on limiting beliefs, working on changing my thoughts, working on managing and getting better at being less reactive.
Yeah.
Understanding that I created my own suffering within me, and by changing my thoughts, I could change my reality and actually heal myself.
There's a lot to unpack there. That's amazing. Wow. 'Kay, I think you've told me briefly a little bits and pieces here and there, but just hearing it all together really puts into perspective how much your circumstances can affect your reality. So, I've got a few questions off of that. One of them is more based on the medication side of things, because you mentioned briefly how the medication that you were taking for the
Myalgia. Yes.
had the side effects of suicidal thoughts. Would you say that outweighed the side effects of having fibromyalgia? I can't pronounce that.
That's
sorry.
okay, no worries.
Fibromyalgia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fibromyalgia.
Fibromyalgia.
Yeah, that's
okay. I've heard you guys say it so many times, but I've never said it myself. Not just realizing. But
no worries.
would you say that the effects of the medication, and even though it came with those side effects, it was still outweighing the effects of the fibromyalgia?
Perfect. I would say that honestly, the benefits for me there was no benefit in the medication. They kept trying many different ones to manage the pain. The pain was hardly being managed.
Yeah.
And yet I was having the side effects of the medication. Now, some people are like that. For me, I'm a person, when I'm on medications from in the past, when I've suffered from anxiety or depression, I got all the unfortunate side effects of the medication more than the benefit of the medication. So it's something we all have to weigh when we're taking medication is, does the benefit outweigh the side effects? For me, I was having more negative issues with it than I was benefit. So therefore, I chose to eliminate the medication. And for me, weaning off the medication was one of the best things I did for myself. Not easily done always, but it was necessary in my case, I believe.
Okay. And how did so that was the beginning of your journey when you were out in Mexico? When you felt the warm blanket over yourself, that was the beginning of realizing that it's not me, it's my circumstances that are making my body feel the way that I am.
That's a really good observation. And yes, the circumstances were a small part of it, though, to be honest.
Okay.
It was more my thoughts about the circumstances.
Okay.
So my brain was racing like a hamster on a wheel.
Yeah.
I had all these negative thoughts. I'll never be able to work again. I just got married. If I leave this relationship, it's going to be shameful. I'm going to feel embarrassed. I can't go through with this to end another relationship. What am I going to do for work? How am I going to support myself? What if the story went on and on, blah, 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 in my mind, right? And I could continue with that story, which would continue to bring me down this negative tunnel into this deep, dark hell.
Yeah.
Or from the beautiful moment of peace and joy that I experienced when that blanket came over me of just warmth and comfort, like somebody was wrapping me in their arms and taking care of me. I knew that if I could return to that moment every moment, that I have peace that lives within me. So I have that ability to make that happen with me. I can choose to let everything around me that's surrounding me upset me, make me reactive, make me unhappy, or I can choose to tap into that peace and beautiful quiet space within me, and then nothing around me really affects me anymore.
If you achieve that feeling by changing your circumstances, then to what extent do your circumstances have an effect on you over your thoughts? Because for you to find that in the very first place, was it just sort of like a push for you to get to that state of mind? The fact that you changed your environment and then you felt it?
Good question. No, I changed my thoughts first. I was aware of my thoughts first.
Yeah.
And that's actually what helped me to make all the decisions I did to make the changes that were circumstantial in my life.
Okay.
Without changing the thoughts first, I can guarantee you I would still be stuck in that same place.
Oh, wow.
Because I would be in the pattern of believing I can make this marriage work. I just don't deserve enough. I'm not good enough. Maybe, I'll never be well enough. I'll never do anything. Never be successful again. All these stories that I had going on in my mind because of my health issues and the fact that I couldn't work and that I wasn't financially now very viable like I once was, because now I was going into a lot of debt and all these different things happening in my life. So once I could manage my thoughts, then I could create a new reality. But if I kept the thoughts being negative, then I was bringing that negative reality into my existence.
Okay, I see. And that's obviously not an easy feat to overcome, thinking about thoughts. The idea that you are allowing your perception of the circumstances to make you feel maybe bad, or maybe they're making you feel great. But what are some steps you can take to overcome that sense of, let's say it's a negative thought about a circumstance that you're choosing to perceive it that way. What steps would you take to look at it from an unbiased perspective and really look at it for what it is?
Well, I think first of all, we have to have awareness. That's the number one thing. If we don't have awareness of our thoughts, it's pretty hard to change them. But we have to understand that we are not our thoughts. I'm going to say that again because that's really important.
Yeah.
We are not our thoughts. We are the awareness behind our thoughts. We have an opportunity to be aware of our thoughts, not letting them direct our life. And we can connect into our own self, which then when we are in the moment of this moment, which is the only moment there actually is, when we're not thinking about the past or worrying about the future, which we are in our minds a lot of the time. I'd say the majority of humans are probably there, and myself included before this all happened. I was there 99.9999%. I actually, at one point, I was very proud of the fact that I had so many thoughts. I actually was like, oh, I have the most thoughts. I think this is amazing. Like, I should actually have this recorded. I wish I could record my brain. It's amazing. And then I didn't realize that, no, I was actually addicted to my own thoughts. And the more thoughts about something negative I had, the more I would bring in more negative thoughts. And the more I had those negative thoughts, the more it would spiral me downwards, the more I'd be in depression, anxiety, the more I'd feel like crap about myself, the more I didn't want to take action. When I learned to let go of those thoughts and observe them and say, oh, that certain thought's not serving me well. Thank you for being there. At one point, that thought was there, probably to keep me safe, right? Because we often get these limiting beliefs from circumstances from when we're younger, and we have certain messages given to us, and these thoughts remain part of who we are, but we have an opportunity to choose, once we're aware of them, whether we want to keep those thoughts or not. We have many limiting beliefs from keeping us safe at one point in time that now carry us forward. Let me give you an example to help. I believed when I was young, to keep myself safe in my environment, that I need to please everybody. Keep everybody happy. Then when everybody's happy, then I'm safe. That's how I felt. So going forward in life, I pleased everybody. I did everything for everybody else. I never put me first. I put everybody else first because I needed something to fill me up. Something that I didn't have inside of me because I didn't love myself enough. I didn't have that self-worth. I thought I needed to get it from my outside, not from inside. I didn't get that. And so I continued to strive through perfectionism and overachieving, working hard, all these things I did. I was a single mom. I ran my own business. I put myself through school. I had my own home. I did it all. I felt like at some point I was superhuman.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand the value in being. Just being and being with me. In fact, I was scared to be with just me because it brought up a lot of emotion that I didn't want to feel.
Yeah.
I didn't want to connect with those feelings of unworthiness and guilt, shame for things I'd done. I didn't want it. If I was still, then I might have to face those emotions.
So being present also forces you to confront emotions that you've been running away from.
It does. And sometimes that scares people.
Yeah. So an example of not being present would be like if you go on your phone instead of doing something like that.
Exactly.
Would that be an example of it escaping the moment.
Absolutely. We can use our phone, we can use work, we
Yeah.
can use alcohol, drugs.
Yeah.
You know, there's many of these I've tried throughout my lifetime. I had an eating disorder for a long time. I had anorexia and bulimia when I was younger. And bulimia throughout even into my early 40s.
Wow.
Yeah, where I would distract myself through food.
Yeah.
And I would eat, binge, and then go vomit it out because I didn't want to feel the emotion. So this
Yeah.
was somehow allowing me to hide the emotion, suppress it.
Yeah.
And then somehow that purging allowed me to purge it without actually feeling the emotion. It was like numbing myself out.
So, do you think that many of these disorders, diseases, or whatever it happens to be, do you think a lot of them can be cured by just being present in the moment and facing the issues that you've been running away from?
I truly do believe that. I also believe that to be present, truly present in the moment, and a lot of people struggle with that because of the fact that we need to do our healing first. We need to look at the trauma we've had in our life. Now, trauma we think of always as a big thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be a big thing. Trauma can be as small as, you know, as a kid, your mom and dad are busy. They're working, they're trying to take care of the house, they've got other kids, and they're busy, right? You want to talk to them, and you go to talk to them, and they're not paying attention to you. And you want their attention, and you're not getting it. And your mom's busy doing the dishes and cleaning the kitchen, and you're like, Mom, I just want you to play with me, Mom, right? Okay, and Mom's busy.
Yeah.
I don't mean this is necessarily you. I'm just saying this is an example.
Of course, yeah.
So then what happens is the child internalizes, Mom doesn't love me. She doesn't
Yeah.
have time for me. She can't play with me. Mom doesn't love me. Mom does love the child very much. Is probably doing all these things to make sure that the child has a meal
Yes.
and is going to be taken care of. But as parents, we end up having these other things that go on in our lives where we have this patterning that makes us believe we have to do all these things too. So to be is also difficult for many people. So I believe we have to do the healing. We have to do the trauma work within ourselves, whatever that is. Maybe it's big, maybe it's small. For everybody, it's different. We have to look at that, and we have to be able to heal it. Now, there's different modalities. We don't always have to do talk therapy to do that.
Yeah.
We don't have to go to counseling, life coaching. There's different ways we can reach the subconscious mind. I've done lots of things myself. I've taken breath work. I've done inside out work. I've done self-love therapy. I've done so many different things. I've done energy work, chakra balancing, healing energy parts within me, Reiki, those types of different things that can help remove the energy blocks. Because when we have emotion that we've kept within us and we've not released, at some point we've kept shoving it away, saying, I'm not going to feel this today. I don't have time now.
Yeah.
And it happens is it stays in our body. Our body keeps score. It knows it's there. And unfortunately, these energy blocks or these parts of us that we never looked at before, they stay in the body and they can become illness. This is a big part of the reason why I got sick. I had had a lot of emotion that I pushed away, always saying, I don't have time for that now, didn't want to feel it, didn't want to look at it. So now, interestingly enough, now that I'm living in the moment and not living in the past or in the future so much, I still catch myself, but I have a greater awareness now, is when I can be in this moment, and then say an emotion comes up, I can just sit with it. And I can say, I feel sad right now. But I allow myself to sit there with the sadness. Or I feel really angry right now. And I allow myself to sit with the anger. Sometimes I need to do something with it. So sometimes I need to cry. I journal a lot. Journaling helps me express and release my emotion. Also physical activity. If I go for a walk in nature, that helps me so much. Or sometimes if I'm really angry, I'll go out where I can and I'll scream at the top of my lungs. Or I'll take a bat and beat a pillow if I need to, pound it, right?
Yeah.
Whatever moves the energy, right? We can shake to move the energy through our body. We can dance. We can sing. We can use our voice, right? Maybe it's just alone, but we have to move that energy out of us. Can't sit there. I believe it's very difficult for us to be present in the moment, which is only this moment. And some people think being in the moment means we're just doing what comes to us in the moment. I mean, by being in the moment, I mean this actual millisecond. Where we're present here now, no matter what is going on in our world, our thoughts, we're aware of them, and we bring ourselves to the here and now.
For somebody that's been neglecting being present for a long time and they've had lots of buildup of things that they don't want to deal with, how would you recommend they go about starting their healing journey when it may feel so overwhelming at first because they have all of these things that have just piled up on top of each other that haven't been dealt with for maybe years?
Yeah, very good question. For each person, it will be a little bit different. Every person will resonate deeply with a different type of modality that might be there for them to work with.
Yeah.
For me, I went through many different ones. The thing that helps me the most, just on my own, that I can do on my own, is to meditate. And meditation, people often get so scared of that word. They're like, oh man, meditation, I don't have time for that. Or I can't stop my thoughts, so what's the point of doing it? But those are just thoughts, right? What we're doing is we're wanting to connect with our breath. So we don't even have to formally do this at any time. We can actually connect with our breath at any given moment throughout the day. Anytime we feel emotion, anxiety, stress, anything arise, we can take a conscious breath. We're always breathing, otherwise we're dead, obviously. So it's taking that conscious breath. So it's being aware of our breath, following it all the way in, and then letting it go. You can either exhale through your nose or your mouth. If you're exhaling through your nose, you're allowing your sympathetic or your parasympathetic nervous system to kick in, which is your rest and digest. If we exhale through our mouth, it's more of a letting go, so we can let go of that which isn't serving us. And with the breath, we can imagine that we're bringing in something that's fulfilling us. So we can bring in love, we can bring in light, we can bring in joy, we can bring in peace. That's what I imagine. So I imagine filling myself with the love and light and exhaling or letting go of all that doesn't serve me. Because in the end, when I take care of me and I heal me, I always used to think it was selfish if I took care of myself. I always thought I had to take care of everybody else first.
Yeah.
But when I take care of myself first, then I'm actually helping bring healing and love and peace into the world. It all starts with us. You know that saying by I always say his name, Gandhi. But he says, you must be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yes.
That's exactly what he means. Is we have to be the change by beginning by doing our healing first. Because hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
So when we heal ourselves, then, and we don't require doing things for other people because we have to fill something that's missing in us, some deep hole or insecurity, then our cup is full, and then we'd want to serve others and love and bring love and peace to the world because we are so full. We have it to give. We're not doing it from a place of emptiness.
Very interesting, especially when you talk about breathing in love and joy, because I could see some people just be like, what? Like, how can you breathe in love and joy? But people will manifest the worst situations on their circumstances. But then when it comes to creating or shifting that into a good perspective, then people will not understand it. But they'll do the opposite with no questions. So that's very interesting, but we're going to take a brief intermission. We'll be back in just a minute, and then we'll continue this conversation.
Thank you.
Hello, and we're back after a brief intermission. We're just going to get right back into the conversation, but in terms of applying good emotions to the same situations and how some people may do the opposite, you mentioned that you took the Clarity Catalyst course, which has really helped you change your mindset to apply to those situations, correct?
Yes. What I would say is that through this journey of self-healing and self-love and being more present in the moment, learning to be present with the moment as opposed to getting so caught up in my thoughts and allowing them to control my life, I now manage my thoughts and I bring a new reality into my existence because of my ability to manage my thoughts, because I'm now aware of them and I'm able to slow them down, not buy into the negative ones. I can choose to buy into the positive ones. I ended up one night being very, very unwell with the fibromyalgia. Had extreme body pain and I was struggling so bad. And I woke up in the night and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be able to work. How am I going to heal myself? All these questions kept going through my mind. And I decided to connect to my breath and just be silent.
Was this after you had already begun the training?
No.
Okay, so this
I hadn't even thought about any of this yet.
So what made you was it just intuition? You just thought, let me connect to my breath because that's what I can control?
Well, actually, it was helping me with manage my pain. So what I'd realized before I'd even had that moment of being at the very rock bottom where I wanted to end my life,
Yeah.
and that beautiful warm blanket coming over me and taking my thoughts, I had already recognized at that point that when I took conscious breaths in and exhaled, that I was calming something down within me, that I was connecting to something that was helping me to heal. It was at least taking away the pain. Now, I can explain that a little deeper on a couple of levels. Sure. Number one being that when I took the breath in and out, first of all, I was taking my attention and my focus to my breath as opposed to my thoughts. My thoughts were very negative. So by bringing my attention to my breath, I was giving myself a break, a little mental vacation from my own mind, right? And that was an escape, a beautiful escape though. Not one where I was using drugs or alcohol or food or work or anything. It was actually connecting to who I am, to who I truly am, to the source of who I am. And so by connecting to that, then I was in essentially healing my body. Now, for me, that was a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
However, even if it wasn't for somebody, if that didn't resonate with them, we're calming our nervous system down. So we have our automatic nervous system. And there's two parts to it. There's the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight. Our fight or flight response in our body is meant to be there for when we actually are we're in danger and we need to get away from danger.
This is the parasympathetic.
That's the sympathetic.
The sympathetic.
That's
Okay,
correct.
yeah.
And so it's meant for us to release the hormones and so forth that we need so we can bolt, so we can get out of a situation. Unfortunately, over time, it's great that we don't need to necessarily do that so much, but our thoughts have become such that those negative thoughts are going so crazily and rampantly in our minds. What happens is our body doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination.
Wow.
So when our thoughts are going so negatively, our body believes we're in danger because we've got all this anxiety and stress we're creating by worrying about the future, what we don't even know what's going to happen in the future, or thinking about the past and having regret and ruminating and rehashing things in our mind over and over again. What ends up happening is our body does all the same processes it needs to do when we're being chased by a bear because it believes we're in fight or flight danger.
Interesting.
And it's now become fight, flight, or freeze. So we freeze too, right? We just we don't do anything, right? No actions taken. We just freeze. But what happens is, unfortunately, our body goes through the same responses that it would as if we were being chased by that bear. So when we can have awareness and bring our attention and focus to our breath, what happens is we calm our nervous system down. We go into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest. That's when we're no longer in those thought patterns of negativity, and we are connected within, and we calm the nervous system down. When we calm the nervous system down, that's when healing can begin in our body. So without even knowing what was happening, I just automatically was connecting to breath.
Yeah.
And so that was healing me or helping calm my nervous system down, because fibromyalgia is like you took the volume on a stereo or on your nervous system in this case, and you just blasted it up to 10.
So it would be just pain all over your body.
That's correct, yes. So what it would feel like is when, I don't know if you've had a fever and you've had your whole body hurts
just
so bad.
Aching,
yeah, and you hurt everywhere. Take that and multiply it by like 10. And that's how my body felt. So sometimes I had to crawl to the bathroom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but by bringing my attention to my breath and my focus to my breath, I was then able to get myself so that I didn't have so many negative thoughts going on there because the focus was on the breath. When we focus on our breath, we can't have thought. It's almost an impossibility. That's why all the gurus in the world and all, that's why there's all the breathing and meditation, because when we focus on the breath, the thoughts, I mean, we can still have thoughts, but it's not, our attention isn't on the thoughts. We now become more the awareness.
Yeah.
And the more we practice that, the more it becomes. So I started just doing this throughout the day. Every time I was having bad pain, I was just catching myself having these big breathing. Like it was, and I remember sometimes people were looking at me like, wow, you're like really breathing funny. And I was like, well, no, this is helping me, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it did. It calmed my nervous system down. But I mean, for me, it also became a spiritual experience because I felt like when I connected to my true essence of who I am, I connected to that which is greater, whichever anybody wants to call that, universe, God, spirit, divinity, our higher self, Mother Earth, whatever that is for each person. We can feel that connection possibly when we go inside and we're not so stuck in the egoic mind.
And what did Clarity Catalyst teach you that helped you elevate the way that you dealt with pain?
Thank you. So actually what happened was that night that when I had that intuitive feeling that I needed to do something, my intuition spoke to me and said, you need to heal yourself through energy work. And you also need to become a life and health coach so that you can help heal others. So this was the intuition that I was told. So I immediately...
When you say that, what do you mean? It was a voice that, like, you were just laying in bed and you heard it
Yes.
in your head?
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yes. And immediately I grabbed my phone and I started looking up health coaching schools. And I wanted to be certified as a health coach because I felt that was the most important to help people to deal with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue.
Yeah.
I hadn't yet healed myself, but I knew I was going to be healing myself. I knew intuitively that I was going to overcome this and I was going to help people in a profound way. I knew that. I knew intuitively. And so when I looked up the Health Coach Institute that I found, it was called actually the Health Coach Institute. They ended up being out of the US, but just their values and principles seemed to align with what I wanted. So I started to take their program. And within, I think about 6 weeks of taking the program, I realized it was too much for my health. I couldn't handle taking the program. I contacted them. They were amazing. They said, take the time you need. You can start in the next session. Let us know when you want to start. So they let me put my program on pause, which was amazing. So I did that. Then, partway through completing that certification, I kept getting emails saying, you have qualified to, as part of your program, to receive this free gift of the Clarity Catalyst program, the CIJ Clarity Catalyst. And I was like, wow, what that is.
So what were you learning through the Health Institute then?
The Health Coach Institute and Life Coach School were certifications that I could help people to manage different aspects of their health and different aspects of balance and things in their life that I could help coach them through. So I took a certification in that so I could actually do that properly. I mean, you can actually put a shingle out there to be a coach without having that, but I wanted to be certified. It was important to me. And then when I took this CIJ Clarity Catalyst program that was through the Health Coach Institute, well, it wasn't their program, but they offered it as a free gift kind of for me being in their program. Yeah. It was an 8-week journey. And as I was taking the 8 weeks, I had no idea. I thought it was about to clarify what niche I wanted to be in and it did in a way, but that's not what it was about. Because we were, as health and life coaches, we're told, pick a niche. Well, I thought it was like, about clarifying your niche and figuring out what you want to do, blah, blah, blah. But no. And yes, in reality, it did bring that in. But because what was fascinating to me was the CIJ Clarity Catalyst program which was a Stanford-based program that they used. They taught people that were in their Masters of Business.
Yeah, I think you mentioned this a while ago. Okay. What was the guy's name who introduced it?
Dr. Ray Stevens. I hope I'm remembering the name right. But yes, he created it, and it was so that he could bring out creativity and clarity in people that had finished a Masters in Business program because of the fact that a lot of people were getting out of their Masters in Business. They're wanting to create their own businesses, but they weren't being creative. They were way too much in their head and they weren't letting go. So interestingly, he created this program and then it became a program that now Jennifer Grace has taken over and she teaches. So I received this class with her. And it was amazing because every aspect of that course was exactly the reason why I wanted to go into health coaching and life coaching anyway, because these were the things I wanted to teach people so that they could end their suffering in their mind and be more connected to themselves. Because when we slow down and connect within, let go of expectations, let go of judgment, and we can be more in the here and now, we now have an opportunity for something beautiful to come into us intuitively which then allows us to be so creative and bring
Yeah.
way more into the world than we ever would have done before. So this program, when I took it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I wanted to teach, but now it's in a beautiful package.
Yeah.
And it's already done for me. I don't have to create this on my own. I don't have to think about what all did I do to heal myself. What aspects of taking care of myself and self-love did I have to do? This was all in a beautiful package for me, created.
Wow.
And so I was like, sign me up. I'm going to be a teacher for this. And so I got certified to do that program as well.
And that was 2 years ago.
Actually, I finished it in early January, I believe, or late December of, like, not this last January, but the one before. So I guess it was only a little over a year and a half ago.
A year and a half. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
And then in the meantime, I also was very honored to have been accepted into Eckhart Tolle's School of Awakening and become a certified teacher of presence. through
And you
him
were
as well.
studying him prior to the Health Institute as well.
I was. Interestingly enough,
So this has always been like a reoccurring theme in your life.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Fascinatingly enough, when I was dealing with anxiety and stress and many things many years ago, and always taking personal development and always doing things that I could help to improve my state of mind and my relationships and be a better version of myself, I hoped.
Yeah.
I often ran into his teachings, but I didn't get them, to be honest. I tried to read The Power of Now and I put it back on the shelf. I just didn't get it. When this all happened, oh my goodness, it was like I wrote the book. Like it was honestly, it was resonating with me so deeply because I get it now. We can bring ourselves to this actual moment right now.
Yeah.
But we get so caught up in our heads that we're never enjoying this moment, which is so sad because this is the only moment there is. And when we take care of this moment, we now create a better future for ourselves because we're making friends with this moment, which is just absolutely so profound, so simple, so beautiful, yet it seems so complicated.
Wow. And what was the first time that these themes have showed up in your life? Since you were a kid, were you seeing themes of the power of now, breath work, and just being present? Or is that something that showed up later on in your life?
I think at that period of time when I was struggling in my teens with eating disorder, I think I was being guided to that, but I don't think I got it at all. And I went to many counselors and I did many different things to help heal that. And none of it was really working. But I was a person who was very caught up in my thought and very addicted. I call it the ego gone wild. In fact, I'm writing a couple different books, and one of the book titles is Ego Gone Wild. Well, hopefully I'll get it done soon. But anyway, so the point is that when I was in that teenage year age and I was struggling so greatly, I was trying to find what it was. I kept looking. I tried so many different programs and went to so many different coaches and psychologists. I went to breath work and I did so many different things, beautiful things that were all beautiful tools. I think that they were all leading me to learning to be present in the moment. However, I didn't quite get it until everything happened at once. And then I had that blanket of stillness and I just got it. It was just like, oh yeah, this is what I was meant to get. This is the whole time. I was meant to learn this, but I didn't grasp it before. And I think that part of it is that I wasn't ready. Maybe. I think there's a part you have to do, like I said, the inner healing has to happen, I feel, in order to be still. Now, people might argue that, and that's fair. But for me, I needed to do that inner healing so that I wouldn't be stuck in my past or worrying about my future so much. In order to be more present, I had to do that work for myself and love myself.
Do you think that modern forms of therapy or psychology could do a better job at pointing people in the direction of being present rather than amplifying problems from the past?
It depends, I guess, on who you end up seeing. Like I've had therapists in the past that just brought up all my past gunk, and then they left me hanging there with that. I was like, oh, I'm just stuck with all this gunk, right?
It makes it worse.
And in fact, I even went through a program for depression and anxiety when I was separating from my daughter's dad years ago. And that program was through a hospital in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And it made me worse, to be honest. I was more depressed, more anxious after I finished that program because we just talked about all the stuff. We just stirred up all that stuff but we didn't have any tools to really help us to deal with it. We didn't get taught how to be in the present moment. We didn't get taught about like the power of journaling or meditation or many self-care practices that we can do for ourselves. So one therapist that I did end up going to later on my own and finding, she actually was the first one that introduced meditation to me.
Oh, wow.
And she took me through a guided meditation in her office, and I'll never forget. I was like, what just happened? I felt like amazing. And I left there like feeling like I had just like felt the most ecstatic joy and happiness I'd ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
Because I actually connected within and I let go of the thoughts in my mind for a moment. And then she suggested I continue practicing that. That was probably a good 20 years ago. And I, once in a while I'd do it, but I wasn't really great at doing the formal meditation practice. I always say, oh, I got to do it. And then I'm going to be like too busy. And they always say the busier you are, the more you should meditate.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I didn't get that. But now I understand you don't actually have to do formal meditation to be present in the moment. We have the opportunity throughout the day. And when we're beginning practicing this, maybe it's best if we actually put up sticky notes on the walls, like say, breathe, be in the moment, be here now, right?
Yeah.
So we practice. Maybe we put a little reminder on our phone and we check in where we're at that moment. So these are some things we can do to help us. For myself, it's become such a practice. It's become a way of life. It's become what I want to embrace and what I want to focus on every day is just being in the moment as much as I possibly can. So when I catch my awareness of my thoughts going fast and getting carried away, then I bring my attention and my focus to my breath. There's other things we can do too. We can imagine that our peripheral vision has widened.
Yes. You told me this. I do this one quite a bit. Like in the morning, sometimes I'll go just on the balcony and I'll do that, and it makes it impossible to focus on anything else.
It does.
I think that's a really great technique that I've tried myself.
And I actually do have a Facebook group. It's called Let's Lift Our Vibes Every Day, which Let's Love, because the acronym for that stands for that. Yeah. And what I do is every Monday I teach a class on how to lift our vibrational level up and also how to be more present in the moment. Because being present in the moment does lift our vibrational level. Because, I'll explain this, if we're living in the past, we're living in usually guilt. Yeah. We're living in shame. There's lots of fear possibly from the past that resonates into this moment. We worry about the future. We have fear about the future. We have these negative emotions, and negative emotions vibrate on a lower resonance. So we attract more of the same when we have these vibrations that have these lower vibrating levels. So when we bring ourselves into a place of love, peace, joy, compassion, those are a higher vibrating level of emotions. So therefore we attract more of the same of those. So we have the ability to change our emotions based on our thoughts, right? So we have to first start with the thoughts and have the awareness of the thoughts. The thoughts change the emotions change our actions and because our decisions become based on our emotions. Because if we're feeling crappy, we're probably going to not make a decision we would have made if we're feeling good about ourselves, right? And that ultimately affects our results in life. So we want to try having higher vibrating levels of emotions. When we're present in the moment, we're not back in the past, stuck in that guilt, shame, anger, resentment, right? And when we're not in the future worrying about and having fear, all those, then we're in the present moment. We're actually letting go of all that and we are vibrating at a higher level. So it all works together. Yeah.
Would you say that having a higher vibrating level is almost magical, where the world presents you with things that operate or people that are operating on the same vibrational level? Or would you say that you just perceive the same circumstances differently and you're more open to accepting those higher vibrating people?
That's an excellent question. I believe that we attract more of the same. But I also do believe that when we are in that state, we also perceive the world as being positive and that challenges are no longer difficult, that they're brought to us to teach us something. And so we have a different mindset. So I think that mindset affects what we attract as well. We end up attracting more of the same people, more of the same, and more positive circumstances. But I also do think you're right. When we do have things that come, we don't see them as being negative anymore. We see them as being positive. I see everything that happened to me. At one moment, I used to think, oh, this is all happening to me, and the victim mentality started to come. But then I realized, no, this is happening for me. This is a gift to me. And from that gift of all those things happening at once, I got to learn all the lessons I've been trying through personal development courses and you name it throughout my whole life to get to. But I think the universe knew that I needed it to be really big for me to get the lesson, because I've been trying all the little lessons and hadn't got them. So I'm so grateful because I had an opportunity to learn all that I've been trying to learn all those years. And I connected. And I think, as I'm saying this, I don't think it, but I actually feel it. Gratitude is a big part of that. We see that we have an abundance already. When we see that there's already abundance and we're not coming from a place of lack, then we get more abundance in our life. We attract more abundance because we see the world as abundant. We don't see it as I don't have. I see it as I already have.
Yeah.
And that changes everything. It's like what we focus on, we get more of. When we focus on what we don't want, we'll get that. Our brain will bring that into reality. Our brain wants to bring into our reality what we're thinking because it wants to make it true for us. Because it doesn't want it to be not true what we've made up or what our mind is thinking.
And that could be a good or a bad thing, right?
It can be. We create our reality through that.
Yeah. So some people will manifest bad situations because they want the world to align with their brain.
Right. And sometimes, it's
or
usually...
they make it align with their brain.
Yes, and everything does align with our brain. And I've seen it even where I've been and allowed myself to get off, not be aware of my thoughts and not manage my thoughts. I can see what I'm attracting, how things are different. So I do believe it to be true. However, the subconscious mind has a huge power over us. And we have to create new neural pathways as well. So the brain always wants things to be easy.
Yeah.
It likes easiness, right? So
pleasure principle.
That's right, exactly. Yes. So when we start creating and bringing in new things to it, it's like, it's okay, I'll just stick with the old because it's hard, right?
Yeah.
But in fact, when we can create new neural pathways that can change our reality of the world. So we have that opportunity, but we do have to work on the subconscious mind as well, because again, when we don't work on that trauma and that healing, a lot of those limiting beliefs that are within us, we aren't even aware that they're there. But if we look at our reality, we can see what our thoughts must be because we can see what we've created. Right?
What are a way of figuring out which limiting beliefs we need to overcome? Because some people might not even know that they're there, right?
That's right.
So what is a way of bringing that to light and then dealing with it?
I think the most important thing is to look at our life on different aspects. What's my health like? What are my finances like? What are my intimate connections with people? It doesn't have to be love, romance, but like relationships with people. What are they like? What is my environment like? You can look at all these different aspects of your life and see where you're at. And if you see that you're not where you want to be, then likely there's a limiting belief there. So, for example, money often is a big one for people. Obviously, we all want to be more abundant. People usually want to have more money. The way we view abundance can greatly affect us. We might have limiting beliefs from when we're children that affect us greatly in regards to money. Our parents might have always told us, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work super hard to have a lot of money. All these different beliefs that we end up carrying on as our own. So once we can become aware of them, we can choose whether we want to continue having them or not. Yeah.
Don't you... So you think that, let's say you're examining your life and there's you're not where you're at financially. That is not so much a lack of effort. It's a change in mindset. Once you change your mindset to believe there's an abundant source of money, then you will naturally produce that and manifest it into reality.
it's not quite that simple, I don't think, because I know there's the law of attraction
Yeah.
where we used to have the vision boards and we used to put this big mansion on there and bundles of money, and we think they would just come to us by thinking of it.
Yeah.
We actually have to truly feel abundant. So we have to have that emotion, first of all. Also, we have to, how do I say, if we haven't done the healing, we might not feel like we are worthy of having the abundance. If we don't feel worthy, or we aren't good at receiving,
Yeah.
some of us have always shut off receiving because I can do it all, man. I have had this. This has been my biggest things that I've had to work on in regards to abundance. Is I didn't feel worthy of receiving. And so I had to change that belief that I am worthy of receiving. And sometimes we can't change a belief from I'm not worthy to I'm worthy. So sometimes we need to go neutral in between
Yeah.
and just say I'm receiving. That's it. Something simple. Then I can go to I'm worthy of receiving.
Yeah.
But the thing is that once we are past those limiting beliefs and we are able to be recognize how they're holding us back,
Yeah.
and we start having new thoughts, then we start to take, as you can see, then we start to take different actions. Those different actions will bring about what we're wanting in our life, right? But if we're held back and feeling small and not worthy, we're not going to take the actions that we need to bring us forward. So that's why we end up staying small. See how it works together?
Yes. You acknowledge that you're in the situation you're in because that's what you deserve, or that's what you are worthy of.
And I feel that. And I
Yes.
feel it. I feel
Yeah.
unworthy. So I feel like not good about myself, right?
Yes.
And that's a negative, low vibrating emotion. But then when I start to overcome those things that made me feel not worthy and start to feel good about myself,
Yeah.
then guess what? I have more energy. So I take more action to do more positive things that bring in the things that I want in my life. Right? So it makes sense, right?
Yeah. No, it definitely makes sense, and it's very simple in a logical way. When you think about it, it makes sense. It's just a matter of actually making that shift in mindset and then taking action on that, which I think definitely, it might be a lot to start off with, but once you make that shift, then I mean it makes sense. So
And I think it's about awareness. I think again it comes down to awareness, because excuse me, that's not me slurring. That's my little dog over here. But I think because if we don't have the awareness of how we're feeling, then it's very easy to not tap into that emotion and not do something about it.
Yeah.
So if I'm feeling crappy and I choose to just stay feeling crappy, I don't choose to do anything to stop that pattern or change the pattern,
yeah.
then I can stay stuck in that unhappiness or that feeling of like sadness, anger, resentment, guilt, shame, whatever it is that I'm feeling, unworthiness, not believing in myself. I can stay stuck there.
Yeah.
But when I'm aware of, I'm not feeling so good. What is it about? Why am I not feeling so good today? What is it? What can I do to change that? Okay, maybe I need to go do something I really love at this moment. I'm going to go for a walk in nature. All of a sudden, I feel better about myself. And so it's recognizing at those low points that we need to do something different so we can then raise our vibrational level.
I think we'll come to a close here.
Yeah.
That we had to take a brief cut because, I mean, my camera has this issue where it stops recording at 30 minutes. And I don't know why. It's like because it's not classified as a film camera. But we had to quickly reset just for the outro. We're probably going to continue talking about this after the fact anyways, but that has been the end of the podcast, episode 6 of Enlighten the Youth. Do you have any closing statement for yourself?
Oh, thank you very much for having me here. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
And I just hope that everybody can understand that we come into this world with a first breath. And we are meant to connect to our breath. We are all authentic beings who are beautiful inside, and we just have to connect to that, and we can let go of all that other stuff that we've had programmed over time. And when we can just connect to our breath and be in the moment, and then we can have a beautiful existence because we don't have to fear anything or worry about anything. So I just wish everybody that, because I think
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
And if someone did want to get in touch with you, where could they message you or find your info at?
Oh, I have a website, www.metamorphic.ca.
Okay,
Metamorphic.
I'll post that on the screen somewhere over here so that
Okay.
you guys can go ahead and check it out for yourself. But definitely, I really appreciate you I really appreciate you being on the podcast with me, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you.